Hi, I'm Michael. This is Lessons from the Screenplay. Anyone that has seen a James Bond movie understands how action scenes provide cinematic spectacle. Some bang pow here, some boom boom there, and you've got yourself something cool to look at and listen to. But what might be less obvious are the ways in which action sequences also reveal character. According to Robert Wade, one of the writers of Casino Royale,
basically what you're looking for as a writer of an action sequence is something that there's an element of narrative to it, that you can have a developing story that shows an aspect of the character.
An action scene, just like any other scene, should help expose a character's true self. But in the case of Casino Royale, the opening action sequence needed to do even more than that. It needed to introduce the world to a whole new James Bond. So today, I want to dissect the film's free-running chase sequence to see how it uses action to develop the characters, to examine how it forces the protagonist to make choices which reveal his key characteristics, and to demonstrate how its underlying structure brings Bond's deepest flaw to the surface. Let's take a look at Casino Royale. In Casino Royale, unlike in most other 007 movies, James Bond is propelled through a complete character arc. By the end of the film, Bond overcomes his flaws and is one step closer to becoming the agent he needs to be. So what exactly are those flaws?
This may be too much for a blunt instrument to understand, but arrogance and self-awareness seldom go hand in hand.
You're reckless. Take the next one. There isn't enough room for me and your ego.
As M and Vesper point out early on, Bond begins this film as a blunt instrument, reckless and arrogant, driven by his ego. But the writers don't convey these flaws only through dialogue. The first action sequence functions like a story in miniature, following a 3-act structure that forces the central character to a crisis. The first act begins with some quick exposition. Bond and another agent, Carter, are looking for someone.
Looks like our man. Burn scars on his face.
I wonder if bomb makers are insured for things like that.
Immediately, we understand that they're trying to catch a bomb maker. But the inciting incident of the sequence comes as their cover is blown by Carter's inexperience.
Stop touching your ear.
Sorry? Put your hand down!
As the bomb maker, Malaka, starts to run, we get the final and most critical piece of exposition.
Holster the bloody weapon, Carter. I need him alive.
Bond can't just shoot Malaka, so instead, he's going to have to chase him. As the chase begins, the character's abilities are revealed through comparison. Malaka appears to be a master of free-running, while Bond struggles to keep up. So Bond can keep chasing him on foot, or he can improvise. This is the first major character-revealing choice in the sequence. It shows us a Bond who is resourceful, fearless, and ultimately, a blunt instrument.
This was particularly appropriate as a way of introducing Bond as a kind of no gadgets, vigorous, unstoppable younger man.
The stage has been set for an exciting chase sequence. Now it's time for Act 2, rising and falling action. In Act 2, the screenwriters raise the stakes. In story structure, this is referred to as rising action, which, in this sequence, literally involves the characters increasing their distance from the ground as they climb higher and higher through the construction zone. This is a simple but effective technique. If Bond made a wrong move on the ground, the bomber would get away. But if he makes a wrong move here, the consequences could be much worse. As Malaka reaches the top of the structure, Bond opts for an innovative way to catch up, with little regard for the consequences. We can see that Bond is reckless. This sends us into the sequence's midpoint, where the screenwriters keep the scene dynamic by pausing the chase so the characters can face off directly. Here, things get personal, as the characters engage in hand-to-hand combat. After a few moments, Malaka escapes by executing yet another seemingly impossible jump. In response, Bond makes the brash decision to continue pursuit, demonstrating a unique kind of arrogance. Now Bond does the jump, barely making it, landing awkwardly onto the second crane. His leap to the roof is even worse. This point in structure is called falling action. Here, Malaka's acrobatic skills are the biggest obstacle, putting more and more distance between him and Bond. So Bond chooses to address this obstacle by quickly identifying shortcuts.
The best beat in it all, I think, is when the terrorist jumps through the top of the door and Bond just charges through the wall, because that just tells you everything about this guy. I don't think that would have been another Bond. I think it's this Bond who does that.
Finally, Bond and Malaka hit the ground, and it's on to Act 3, Crisis and Climax. The sequence moves into its final act as Malaka reaches the embassy, and we find ourselves with a new set of circumstances. Bond is entering enemy territory, a foreign embassy full of armed guards, further raising the stakes. Another Bond might rely on stealth, but not the Bond we've come to know over the course of this sequence. This Bond chooses to march straight inside in plain view of the security cameras and grab his target. Here, the sequence has a reversal. Now Bond is the one being chased. Bond's reckless choices have successfully led him to catch the bomber alive, but they have also led him to the sequence's crisis point. Bond is surrounded by soldiers with no escape. And the final, most critical choice Bond makes reveals his deepest character flaw. Bond is driven by his ego and wants to win so badly that he's willing to sacrifice the mission. Finally, the sequence ends and we get a quick moment of resolution as Bond finds a clue in Malaka's backpack. We've now seen that he will do things his own way without consideration of the consequence, which makes him an unpredictable and potentially untrustworthy agent. So in addition to providing several minutes of exciting action, the sequence has also set up a critical part of Bond's character arc.
Any thug can kill. I want you to take your ego out of the equation and to judge the situation dispassionately.
The flaw he will struggle with for the rest of the film.
You lost because of your ego, and that same ego can't take it.
Great action sequences are about more than cool cars or incredible stunts. They provide an important testing ground, presenting the characters with split-second decisions that reveal who they are. And in the case of Casino Royale, the action sequence can be an effective, efficient, and entertaining way to introduce the world to a new version of Bond.
James Bond.
Hey guys, Michael here. Hope you enjoyed the video. It feels very good to be back. Now, I have a question for you. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a place where creators could make stuff without having to worry about the algorithm or the looming threat of demonetization? A place where experimentation was encouraged and the videos were ad-free? Well, there is, and it's called Nebula. Nebula is a streaming platform developed by and featuring creators like myself, along with many others you might recognize, such as Just Right, Lindsay Ellis, Alt-Shift-X, Now You See It, Patrick Willems, Like Stories of Old, and many, many others. Nebula also has originals, episodes and series created specifically for Nebula. For example, there's a series called Working Titles, where different creators look at the opening title sequences from various TV shows. Polyphonic did one on Game of Thrones, Just Right did one on Batman the Animated Series, Cinema Wins on Stranger Things, and the list goes on. Nebula is a great way to directly support creators you love and get some exclusive content in return. But it gets even better. CuriosityStream, the streaming service home to thousands of top-quality non-fiction shows and documentaries, has partnered with Nebula. So if you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the description below, you get Nebula for free. You'll be supporting independent creators like myself, getting CuriosityStream and its thousands of great documentaries, and when the time comes, you'll get to see the super secret Nebula original project that we're currently developing. So head to the link in the description below to sign up today. Thanks to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video, and thank you as always to the patrons on Patreon for making this channel possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.